Thank you. So today we're going to be talking about strings on Python. It'll be a bit detailed, and you might notice that I'm using a prop, and you may think of a string as string trees or something like that, but the fact of the matter is strings is used across most coding languages, and you'll find it across when you're building applications from Windows, actual desktop applications, Macs, Linux, or if you're building mobile applications or doing server type of stuff, you will have to deal with strings. So it's pretty important to understand strings in a detailed manner. Now, keep in mind, things from one language may act a little bit different from another, but for the most part, I'm trying to make a generalized concept where you can keep in mind with all of them, but this is tuned mostly for Python. Now, real quick, before I forget, if you haven't seen the previous videos, then check out the card at the top. And if you want to just skip ahead, if you know about strings, then feel free to skip ahead by card at the top. And also, if that video is not out, then the card won't be there. Keep in mind these videos come out once or twice a week, so feel free to wait around for that. So, as far as strings, as we know from the past videos, is we normally define it by two quotations. Not always. We can define it by apostrophes, and if we have only one side apostrophe and our side quotation, we're going to get an error because we're not supposed to do that. Also, at the same time, if we're going to do one of these things, then we need to tell it to ignore it by just doing a backslash, and that tells it to ignore that given apostrophe. We can also tell it to ignore it by doing 3 apostrophes at the start or end. Same thing with quotations, start or end, and it tells it to ignore certain sections. Same thing here, we have a variable, which is named that variable string. And with here, we got a multi-line thing. And we're using 3 quotations, and basically the first part says check out the website, the second part says sub to this channel, by the way, sub to this channel, and then when we tell it to show the string, then it will show what exactly we put there, even with this space in between. So going down, there's an error method of doing a string. We can do addition on strings. Now this has to be exact. So you don't want the code to assume, because what happens if you don't want a space type of thing? So make sure everything's exact. The space can be either, like say for example, if I want to put a space right here, I could have done it, but I chose to do it at the start of each one. It's fine. The end result is the exact same. But as we see here, we can add these 3 together, and it gives us one long string. And same thing here is, since I didn't want to put a space, there is none, and there's no space in the results. Now with this, what we have is company and the variable, the string, and we can add to the string, call it, and the same thing happens as above, but now we got enter variable, so we can recall it later. So that can come in handy in a few instances, grabbing a person's information or something like that, and like say for example their name or whatever, you can grab it and throw it right there. So say for example, you can ask, and make sure your typing's right, by the way, but you can grab the person's name or whatever and throw it on a few strings, ask at the beginning, what is your name, and it just does variable plus the person's name, variable plus person's name, variable plus person's name, so it puts the person's name in every single spot. So that's pretty important to note, is that can come in handy. Also, again, make sure you typed everything right. So with the addition, you can't add a string to an integer. However, you can do it right here because we're telling it the integer is a string. And here we can times it by integer, but what we're doing is we're timesing how many times it wants to repeat the a. So in their example is trh times by 50, and it just times it by 50. This comes in handy for messaging and a few other things. Now we got placeholders. So the placeholder, if we have a variable string placeholder, call the variable, we can see the placeholder. Now in order to change the placeholder, we do a print dot format and then change the placeholder within here, and you can see here it changed it. So if we want to change it to multiple things, we got to have the quotations or apostrophes as seen here, otherwise we get a error. And then if you don't have a second placeholder, then it doesn't have anything to change, so it won't, and it will just pull out the old one. So it will change the first one with that, and second one, and so on. But if there is no second one and so on, then it doesn't have anything to change. To fix this, we can change again add the variable and just add the second placeholder. Make sure it's right from calling a variable, and then doing the same thing. And as you see here, it changed it, so it changed the second placeholder. That's fairly useful in many cases, websites and many other cases. So that's a big thing to keep in mind. I suggest you re-reviewing this video if needed, because it did go by things pretty fast. And also feel free to ask questions, and I'll try to get back to you on that real quick if needed. Maybe even make a video based on your question. But anyways, as far as that goes, that's pretty much about it. Thing to note is strings are on multiple languages, and advantage of using strings, if you can save them, depending on which language you're dealing with, is depending on how things are. But basically, if you want, you can actually say, for example, take a string and give it a value, and you can do an if and statements, and say if string equals to blah, then change color to blah, and it will do that. So if the person goes in the settings in the application, you can actually change the colors to things. There's other instances, like for example, the person's name or username or something like that, and there's many useful times. I suggest, because we constantly use it in Android and iOS, I currently have Android videos really prominently out. I highly suggest you check those out, because we get heavily into strings, and they are a real advantage in coding, because it can save a lot of time. Because the big thing with strings is if you can access it from multiple locations. Obviously with Python, this doesn't really count, but with other languages, what happens is you will have supporting files, and one of the files normally will be strings, also variable in the string. Well, what would end up happening is you can actually grab the string from multiple locations, and basically what you can do is, instead of having to write a string per thing, you can just write one string and grab it. A similar thing can happen in Python. I'll probably get into that a lot later on, but as for now, this is really what you need to know, is with the apostrophes, quotations, the backslash, the spacing, the addition, the multiplication, and things of this nature. But anyways, again, this has been Crew Bent, founder and owner of TechViews Nope. If you got any questions on this or anything else, then feel free to leave them in the comment section, and I'll try to answer it as quickly as possible. Leave a like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.